So I'm sure if you're actually been in this channel for more than one video, you've seen that usually in the back over here and on these like little boxes, it's lit up. And how it's done is I've been using these little lights over here. Hello. This over here is the Weeylite RGB LED light, which costs around $69. This one over here is a Pixel G1, which is the same LED RGB one light, and this one costs around $99 or $100. And this one over here is the Boling or Vlogger P1 RGB LED light. And this one costs around $150 or $159. Now, I'm sure you've seen a lot of these online, and I have as well. So many different companies, every single lighting company that I know produces these types of lights, like a light that is as big as of a smartphone. Over here, I have a smartphone, which is actually bigger than these lights. As you can see, I can hide the whole light behind the smartphone easily. Obviously, this is a big smartphone as well. The idea is to make a RGB LED light, video light, or photo light that is as small. Now, I'd like to talk about all these three, kind of compare them, because these represent like different price brackets. And if you're new, to this type of thing, you're wondering maybe which one should you get and what do you get with it? How accurate are the specs? I've tested them all, brightness tested, battery tested. So it's time to talk about them. There is one of these lights that I've actually made a full review before if you want to check that out. It's this one, the most expensive one, which is Andy Boling P1 light, but I haven't made a video about these two. So I thought instead of making separate reviews, I'm going to put it all together and kind of make a comparison. Different price brackets gives you an idea which one should you buy. So let's go some of the specs and then compare these three to each other. Why don't we turn it on a little bit as well so that I can show you that they're actually working. I thought this would be a little bit easier to see which one I'm talking about. Let's talk about the power output, which is measured in watts. So this Weeylite over here is the weakest, and it's 8 watts, okay? 8 watts of power. Measure that. Pixel over here is 10 watts, but the max says 13 watts, so I'm not sure what that means. And this one, Boling over here, Boling, is 12 watts of power. So then, as well as being RGB, they're actually white lights as well, and their color temperature varies differently. This Weeylite over here, the cheapest one, is from 2500K to 8500K, okay? This Pixel G1 is from 32 to 5600K, which is like the usual dimming one, but this has much bigger range. And then the Boling P1 has the same range as the cheapest one, which is 2500K to 8500 kelvins. Now, next of all, you need to know that they're all dimmable lights, but they don't dim the same way. Okay, this Weeylite over here has a dimming range from 10% to 100%, okay? This Pixel and the Boling one over here dim from 1% to 100%, and that's both for RGB and white light, whichever color temperature you are at. As well as dimming the brightness, you can also dim or kind of change the color saturation, how much of the color you're actually putting out. And as well as the brightness, you can also dim the saturation of it, which for all of these lights works from 1% to 100%. FYI. Now, the next fact is a little bit more kind of just interesting fact, that how many bulbs are there. Now, this doesn't really matter in terms of the brightness and things like that. There's a little bit different technologies, but over here on the Weeylite, we have the lowest amount of bulbs, which is 52 bulbs, okay? There's 28 white bulbs and 24 RGB bulbs. This Pixel G1 over here has 198 bulbs. In this tiny little bit over here, you can only see the greens at the moment, you can count them, but there is also white ones in the middle of it. So these have 144 white bulbs and 56 RGB bulbs, okay? And then this one over here, the P1, has 80 white bulbs and 70 RGB bulbs, which is 150 bulbs. Still a lot, but not as much as the G1. This is just a fact for you. If you know how the shadows work, this is probably useful information for you. Next up, we should be, looking at the color accuracy. So I don't have a measuring device that can measure this, so I'm just gonna read the specs from here, okay, and trust that the factory was actually right in advertising and there's no false advertising. This Weeylite over here, the CRI is 95 plus. There is no TLCI rating that I could find, so that's that. The Pixel and the Boling, they both share the same CRI and TLCI rating, which is 96 CRI and TLCI 97. So, which is basically just one down. Weeylite, I think it's just the same. There are some different advertised brightnesses over here. This Weeylite was advertised as 850 lux at 0.5 meters at 5,600 kelvins. Now the Pixel G1, I couldn't find any advertised brightness on any of the sites, so we're gonna leave that blank. And then the Andy Cine had the advertised brightness of 1,480 lux at 0.5 meters. They also had a measuring of 0.3 meters, which is very odd, you know, measuring. I don't know why would you put that in there, because it usually is measured at 0.5 meters, 1 meter and 2 meters. That's what you get kind of for brightness. But I think they just wanted to confuse people to show like that's extra bright. You know, someone who might not be as clever and as like paying attention, they might think that this little light can put out 3,300 lux at 0.5 meters, but actually that is for 0.3 meters. So we're gonna leave that measuring aside. I did the testing myself and tested them with, where is it? Somewhere over there. The light meter, okay? And measuring them at 0.5 meters, all of them. And at first, the test was 5,600 Kelvin. So, listen, this is very interesting now. This Weeylite over here, which was measured or advertised as 850 lux, I measured this one at 1,166 lux. So you're getting actually much more performance out of this one as advertised, which very good sign. Usually it goes the other way. Now this Pixel G1, we don't know how much this was advertised, but is 1,505, which is the brightest in this category at 5,600 kelvins, okay? Because there's more to this story. Now this one, Boling P1 at 5,600 kelvins is 1,451 around there. So it's slightly dimmer than the G1. So the Pixel wins at 5,600 kelvins. But if we look at the overall brightness of any dimming temperature, which for both of these two is at 5,600 kelvins, this Boling P1 is actually the brightest at 6,500 kelvins and measures at 1,547, around 1,550 lux, which is the brightest, okay? So the brightest is this one, second one is the Pixel G1, and then Weeylite. At some of the temperatures, the Pixel can win, like at 5,600 kelvins, the Pixel wins. So the interesting thing is that these lights can be used very cleverly for music videos or product videos, or if you're doing any videos and you need a little bit of lighting effect, short films, you know, I don't know, even maybe feature films, you can have some very interesting effects with these. So all of these have different effects inside. The Weeylite has 8, whereas the Pixel G1 and Boling P1 have 9 effects inside. There's lighting effects, you know, police car, a little fire or TV, and just a Tisco and things like that. I'm not gonna go much more into it because I'm sure you've seen some videos online, you know this already, what this can do, la-di-da, la-di-da. Battery capacity and how long you can actually use them for. Now there is some interesting things over here, okay, pay attention over here. So the battery capacity is measured at milliamperes per hour. This one over here, the Weeylite, has the capacity of 3,000 mAh, okay? This one over here is 4,040 and the Boling is 2,930. So if we look at the specs, it should be that this Pixel G1 should last the longest, then the next up is this Weeylite, and the P1 should be the last one. Whereas in reality, it's the very, very opposite. Put these lights all on max brightness at 5,600 kelvins and just said, you know, wanted to see how long do they actually last and when do they dim down. So the first one to drop off this race was Pixel G1, and it actually dropped off at 1 hour and 13 minutes and 37 seconds, which is less than the advertised working time. The advertised working time is 1.5 hours, which comes at 1 hour 30 minutes. So it's 15 minutes, roughly 15 minutes less than advertised. Now, the second place, around 45 minutes later, or half an hour later, my bad, is the Weeylite. So advertised working time is 1.2 hours, which is 1 hour and 12 minutes. Sorry, try to keep up with all the numbers. Thanks for listening. Whereas it actually dropped off 1 hour 42 minutes. The interesting thing is that it actually didn't carry out the 100% brightness all the way through. As I can see from playing back the footage, when it starts to lose battery or when it's low on battery percentage, it can't produce the same amount of power, and it dims it down to 70% and 50%, or just dims it down a little bit, which means that it's got the weakest battery inside actually, because the battery can't produce the full maximum power all throughout its capacity. Now, the interesting thing is that this guy over here with the smallest battery lasted the longest. And about an hour later, this one stopped, okay? Around 2 hours and 40 minutes and 56 seconds, this guy dies out, which to me says that this one has a proper battery inside. It can actually be very durable, and you know, it's actually going to be much more accurate and reliable in real life, but you're paying for it as well. The actual advertised working time was 2 hours and 20 minutes, but it did it in 2 hours and 40 minutes, which is even more impressive. One thing I'd like to also mention is that because the Pixel has the biggest battery, you can actually use this light as a power bank. When plugging in your, USB-C over here, you can actually get a power out from here as well, which is very interesting. So once it runs out of battery, we need to charge it up for some future usage. Charging time is different and the charging ports are different. On the Weeylite, we have a micro USB port. On the Pixel and the Boling, we have a USB-C port, which obviously these are much faster charging. So the Weeylite needs 3 hours for charging, roughly 3 hours, whereas the Pixel and the P1 take much less. The Pixel over here needs 2.5 hours for charging, which is 2 hours 30 minutes. The Boling P1 takes 1 hour and 30 minutes, 1.5 hours. So both of these, because they have USB-C, support the fast charging. So if you have a fast charger, I recommend charging them with these. It charges much faster than just the usual 1 ampere USB slot. So I have used these lights for quite a lot of different ways and different, for photography as well as videography. I used it for my, 12 or 11 cinematic lighting setups. If you haven't seen that video, check it out over there. And for the background, on the last setting, I had all of these three actually just shining in there and making it all RGB, so I've used them for these. For some of the thumbnails, if you see some colors or lights over here, I've used these lights over here. Just very, very cool things you can do with it. Always when using them, you actually need to mount them somewhere unless you're shooting on a table. That brings me to the mounting options. This Weeylite over here has 2 mounting options. There is one on the left side over here and then one on the bottom over there, and they're both 1/4 inch screw holes. Pixel G1 over here has 3. One on the top, one on the bottom, and one on the left side. But the best mounting option, for me at least, is this Boling P1. Okay, the interesting thing is it has this like little kind of arm thing over here, mounting arm thing, and this is very, very useful. Okay, first of all, it can actually rotate on the arm 360 degrees. Okay, you can mount it this way, and then you can put it on an angle. It comes out like that. You have 7 1/4 inch screw holes over here, so you have plenty of options, even if you want to mount the 2 of the lights together. So there's 2 over here, and then there's loads on this little kind of cube over here as well, on each side of the cube over here. Very, very useful. Now, if you don't want this on it, and maybe you just want a normal 1/4 inch screw hole, you can actually unscrew it from this place over here, and the whole thing comes off. It becomes lighter, and you don't have that option. But I find it super, super useful when wanting to mount it on a camera or anywhere you want. I like it a lot. For mounting options, this has been my preferred choice. If I'm on an awkward angle or things like that, then the Boling P1 is the way to go. And then last of all is the kind of weight, because the main point of these is that they're very kind of portable. You can take them with you, just slot it in a bag, and they're kind of like a smartphone. You can put it in your pocket. And for that reason, I think the Weeylite is the best option actually to carry around. It's super, super small. I like it. It's very durable. You know, it's got metal build quality, which all of them have. I think all of them have the same type of build quality, but the Weeylite is the smallest and the lightest, weighing at 166 grams, whereas the Pixel G1 is the second lightest, which is 205 grams, and then the Boling over here has 260 grams of weight to it. So now I'd like to kind of help you decide which one is for you. Now, we've gone through all the specs, and hopefully depending what you want to use them for, you know kind of which one should you get. If you're looking for a particular, you know, spec that it will be good at, like the longest or the smallest, or kind of the more power to it, or just more versatile, things like that. They all have their benefits, even though they're in the same kind of category, and they look very, very similar at first sight. For like usability, I think Pixel and the Boling are the easiest to use. Now, turning on, for example, I like the Boling the most because it just has this switch over here, like a left-right switch, so you can flick it and then it comes on, and it comes on very quickly. Whereas the Pixel G1 has this power button over here, like a camera shutter button. You have to hold it down. I'm holding it. Okay. The actual, you know, light over here in the back LCD shows that the light is on, but nothing is showing. What you have to do is press the power button again, and then now it comes off. So there's like a quick little kind of mute button, which can be useful, but when you're turning it on and want the quick use, it might not be as useful. The Weeylite is very simple. It's got 5 buttons on the side over here. You just hold on to the power button, boom, it's off. Hold on to the power button again, boom, it's on, and okay, it works. So it's quite fast on this one as well. But actually going through the different modes, dimming down and up, and you know, in that way, I like the Pixel and the Boling the most because they actually have like little kind of knobs adjusted to dimming percentage and, you know, saturation, or, you know, the color temperature and dimming percentage. So it's much easier kind of going around different modes on these, whereas it's not that bad on this one, but it took me more time to get used to how this works over here on the Weeylite. For me though, if I'm looking at the price and thinking which one is the best bang for buck, I like the Weeylite the most, because I don't see why you would actually need this Boling P1 as much as this Weeylite. So there's not like a scenario where I proper need so much power or need it to last the longest. Maybe there is, but in my like YouTube, for example, or photography, what I'm doing a little bit, this is perfectly fine for me. It's got enough brightness, it's got enough everything. If I want to use it for like RGB side fill or hair light, it's completely fine. So if you're asking for me which one is the best bang for buck, then I think the Weeylite is the best bang for buck. And when I'm talking about banging, you can actually bang them around without any worries. They're all metal built. Neither of them are waterproof, FYI, keep that in mind. Another useful thing that the Pixel and the Boling have is in the back over here. If you turn them the other way, you can see a little cheat sheet over here on the back, so you can see like what color kind of number out of the 360 represents which color, which is the same on the Pixel over here. And it's actually the same on this Weeylite, but they just don't have that kind of cheat sheet on the back over there. So just you need to memorize, you know, that 0 is red, 120 is green over here, and then 240 is blue. And then when you go back towards 0, it starts getting red again. So if you're asking me which one should you get, and money is not an obstacle for you, you don't care how much it costs, then obviously the best option over here is the Boling P1. Now, if you're asking me which one is the budget option that gives you the best bang for buck, I'd definitely say the Weeylite. And the truth is, you're not getting double the amount of stuff with it when you go to P1, because the P1 is actually double the price as this Weeylite. You could get 2 of these for the price of one Boling P1, okay? And then the Pixel G1 is the perfect middle ground kind of over there. Does it work perfectly? Yes, it does. Is it actually good? It is. It's just kind of option for you. What does your budget allow? So hopefully this was helpful for you and helped to decide, or give you a little insight to what these lights can do, what you can use for, what are some of the specs, what should you be looking out for, which one should you get, things like that. Now remember, the links for these all are in the description if you want to check it out. As always, it's time to end the video. Subscribe if you haven't already, because more videos like this are coming out every single week. So stay tuned, feel free to check out some of the other videos on the channel. Love you all. hit that like button, it actually makes a difference, and I'll see you soon. Thank you very much for watching. You're the best. See you soon. Adios. Adios.